champion.
To be fair, though, we're on 7-13 now, where I think it's a very strong tank patch. I think that Maokai jungle is incredibly strong. I think that Nunu jungle is incredibly strong. I think that there's a lot of tank junglers that are actually really good right now. And going into 7-14, they only get better with, you know, Cho'Gath coming in and Rammus and all these champions that are actually very strong right now in solo.
Well, there's Elise and Galio for TSM, and Caitlyn and Syndra, the last two bans on either side. TSM lining up that first pick. Lee Sin seems like the obvious one. Hauntzer is going to flash us Nocturne for a little bit of fun, but looks like it's probably going to be a jungle pick here.
I think very likely to be Lee Sin. Can go another way. Thresh is obviously very highly prioritized here as well. It has been the most played by far. This is the 8th pick now for Biofrost. Next most played is 4 games on the Tahm Kench. So definitely his most popular champion, and it's really the most popular in the meta right now.
Yep. The same is also true for Xpecial, I believe, whose Rift Drive performances on that support were stellar. Oh, never mind. He's got those Braum games coming in.
Yeah, he has been playing quite a bit of Thresh. You know, he played it at Rift Rivals very well. It's one of, historically, his most played. Definitely has mostly been playing Braum, though, this season. You know, 8 games on Braum, 3 on Thresh as his second most played. So expecting the Braum to come through, as it also works pretty well into Thresh.
And good with the Kalista as well, which has certainly been the marksman rising in priority for almost everyone's drives.
Yeah, it really has been. It's been huge in EU. It's been huge in LCK. Now starting to really pop up a lot more in the NA LCS. We saw it, I think, both games actually yesterday in the CLG series. And it's been very, very successful.
So unsurprisingly, that Stixay has been picking up that Kalista again, but I think a lot of the ADCs in North America are just comfortable on that champion. Tristana, though, has been a constant for DoubleLift recently, and he'll take that into what used to be a pretty good matchup for Trist. And there's actually Rek'Sai as the jungle pick for Sven, so Lee Sin being available, and actually Rek'Sai is going to get the nod here.
Yeah, it is interesting, but Rek'Sai actually does have, I'd say, the better of that kind of jungle matchup. Rek'Sai can answer Lee Sin pretty well. You have a lot of pressure that you can match Lee Sin with in the early games, and as far as the actual 1v1 interactions, if Lee Sin tries to take a Q, you can actually knock him up and unburrow and stop that damage. So there are some pretty nice interactions going in the favor of Rek'Sai. That being said, you know, Tristana has actually been rising in priority quite a lot as well, especially prior to Rift Rivals. It had been very big. It was big at Rift Rivals also, and it had a ridiculous win rate in NA, and there it is actually coming up on screen. You know, almost 77% win rate for Tristana. The champion has been extremely effective. Unless you can kind of abuse it early in the lane, it's incredible at sieging. It has very good team fighting. It scales super well into the late game. Like, it's very, very strong.
And we did see that yesterday. Stixay was on the Trist in the game against FlyQuest on Friday, and did definitely get pressure in the lane versus Kalista. Sona kind of expecting to lose early, but of course, Tristana did what she does best, scale into the late game and help CLG take over that first game. So Cassio and Jace are the bans actually for P1 as we move into ban phase number 2. I may be expecting another jungle ban. Gragas was the other pick that kind of jumped to mind before, but TSM might be going away and hatching up a solo lane here as Phoenix1 actually going to stick 2 mid bans there with LeBlanc joining Cassio.
Yeah, they don't want Bjergsen to get too good of a matchup into Ryu on this Corki. Corki, obviously another very popular marksman since the buffs and kind of making him more AP focused. It's a lot easier to have a diverse damage profile in your team. Now that Corki is essentially pure AP, you don't have to draft more AP in the jungle or the top lane or anything like that. You can just have a standard tank and still have a solid composition there. And Lee Sin eventually is going to be taken away there from MikeYeung. So the other champions that he has actually shown us is the Kazakhs. He has 1 game on Kazakhs. Everything else that he has played so far has actually been taken away or banned out. So maybe going to go there or show us something new.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Again, hasn't played too many games, but has already made a huge impact. Is this a Sejuani lock-in?
That's another big tank in the meta right now. Sejuani is actually sitting at a very high win rate in solo queue. I believe it's like high elo, it's over 55% win rate, something like that, which is pretty absurd. So this is definitely a very strong pick. We've seen it come out in some other regions as well so far. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I think having that really beefy front line with the Braum and the Sejuani to actually protect and set up this double marksman composition is pretty powerful. Plus you have a lot of actual like passive stuns that you're going to be proccing with the Braum passive plus the Sejuani passive and the lockdown that is available between these two champions.
Well, there's a Gnar pick for TSM, which has been kind of the steadily rising top laner, but P1 are going to get counter pick options there for Zig. And we'll see what the last pick actually ends up being here for TSM. Probably not Kog'Maw.
Probably not. We did see Orianna would make a lot of sense, I think, actually, with the Gnar, but Taliyah going to work very well here too. Taliyah can actually push you in very heavily. Gnar, they're expecting to have a pretty good matchup against really anything in the top lane unless Zig wants to go for some sort of like a counter pick. So Taliyah always can go to the side lanes and try to help snowball those. This is the first NA LCS Sejuani pick, but as I said, it has been in other regions. So definitely a very exciting game.
Last pick here, actually, Jarvan for Zig, so something a bit more aggressive can help maybe lock down and take down Gnar in a mini form. But I think if we look at, a player like MikeYeung, if there's going to be a jungler that's highly attuned with current successful solo queue junglers, probably one of the newer junglers to the NA LCS who has known and really thrived in that environment initially. So no surprise to see him bring out something new. And again, I raised the question at the start of the draft, MikeYeung, can he play something like a tank? And already in game number 1, a completely different champion taken.
Yeah, and if you watch this guy stream at all, he plays a lot of the meta tanks right now. He's playing Maokai jungle, he's playing these sorts of things and practicing to bring them out. P1 definitely has a pretty powerful composition. They have a lot of engage with J4, Sejuani, Braum being thrown in from the Kalista ultimate, Braum's ultimate. Like, this is a lot of powerful engage NCC. TSM, though, also have a pretty powerful team fight. I think I would actually favor P1s, though, because the amount of utility that someone like a Sejuani brings to the teamfight compared to that of a Rek'Sai, I think is pretty big. So we'll see how TSM is going to be able to play around this.
Yeah, we'll see what Sejuani's first game in the jungle for the NA LCS is like. Gates been causing shenanigans in the bottom side. Did, of course, play at support a number of weeks ago. But I think on the TSM side, it is nice to see these teams actually pick comps that fit their signature styles. I mean, lots of top half strength for TSM with a really consistent bottom lane and a lot of map-wide things they can do between the Rek'Sai and the Taliyah. And then just a big aggressive team fight, hard engaged style come for P1. This is a team that has come guns blazing through every single game since MikeYeung has joined the roster. And TSM, if they can't fend off that pressure, they're going to find themselves behind very early.
Yeah, and the top lane, I think, is going to be something that actually begs a lot of attention, simply because although Gnar kind of passively wins all these lanes, J4 is actually a matchup that certainly can get advantages against Gnar. You have to play it aggressively, though, and that's why it can be risky. So oftentimes people aren't actually willing to make those plays. They're not willing to take the risk, because if you jump in offensively on the Gnar, that's how you kill him. But also, if the Rek'Sai's there, you're screwed, right? So both junglers could be coming up to top side. If you can get the Jarvan ahead of the Gnar, he can certainly win that lane, bully it out. Otherwise, I think it's very tough for Zig, as he's just going to be shoved in under his turret.
Yeah, I think TSM, again, are going to look to sort of keep their solo lanes held up nicely. Sven could get a lot of early gank pressure down. Rek'Sai is one of those champions that, especially now, is kind of morphed into this absolute early game monster of a champion, rather than that kind of pure control champion she was sort of before. And certainly we'll see what happens as early vision has been put down. DoubleLift going to spot 2, but going to have to get out of the way. Hasn't scored a point yet. Might have to use that jump if I can't get to the tower in time, but going to keep it safe and make sure he gets away.
Yeah, still nice little advantage there for P1, able to kind of just camp it out. And I mean, even just forcing the skill of that W level 1 does give you a bit of an edge, because you can't use the explosive shot now to actually get a really fast push if they wanted to try to go for level 2. It's not devastating, but it's something. Yeah,
and they've got a ward down as well on the red buff, so are going to have some idea of what's happening. In fact, might even be an invade potentially from Arrow and Xpecial. I think waiting to see exactly what kind of leash they're getting, but TSM might have thought this was happening because Biofrost is moving down to the lane, but DoubleLift stayed for a couple of extra autos for Svenskeren.
Yeah, going to be able to help him out. Just trying to get that kind of power leash done for him. Make sure that he actually has somewhat of an advantage in the jungle matchup. They know that MikeYeung started on the top side, so giving this really powerful leash to Svenskeren is going to kind of set him up pretty well, and he's going to have some options. He could actually go and try to meet MikeYeung at his blue, for example, if he wants to go for an aggressive route, knowing that he has this kind of faster clear off that powerful leash.
Yeah, looks like Hauntzer got the ward down on the P1 red. TSM fans still out in force, but don't worry, when MikeYeung does something spectacular, there'll be plenty of loud noises in the arena. That man seems to attract hype.
Does, and he's creating a lot of it.
Exactly. It looks like level 2's on the way here for P1's duo, so it's going to force Biofrost and DoubleLift to pay respect. Hauntzer, though, already level 2 of his own, and this is why many know it can be very frustrating as a melee champion.
Yep, really is kind of annoying laning into this, but Svenskeren has been spotted out. MikeYeung put a pretty smart ward over the wall there. Sven is kind of starting this up we'll see what the answer is going to be from MikeYeung if he actually just tries to go and match that jungle path, taking away his opponent's Krugs. Because for now, they are trying to chip down Zig, but he's healthy enough, you can't really look for a dive, so it will just be the counter jungle and the threat of that.
Yeah, Sven has his full blue side of the jungle to clear as well, so plenty of camps to go back to. MikeYeung though just breezing through his camps. Looks like Sven's going to steal away the blast cone and then walk back towards his other side of the jungle. So maybe an early donate for mid lane. We used to see that a lot when Rek'Sai was a bit more in vogue. But for now, TSM just happy with their lane position.
It's looking like that's what it's going to be. I mean, Taliyah is already moving over towards the blue buff, so they are going to give this over to Bjergsen, try to get him that advantage. And this path is actually very smart. I mean, they've essentially delayed the blue buff right to the time where Bjergsen is actually starting to run out of mana, and that can actually really utilize that. Ryu has not really spent any mana, so like he would start to be able to get an edge in this 1v1 at this point had Bjergsen not been able to get this. And with that blue buff, he can continue to shove him in, hopefully get an advantageous buy.
Yep, just a lot of pressure here right now. Bjergsen just dipping left. Again, waiting in fog of war, no reason to really do much else.
And also playing to the side where his jungler is, right? If MikeYeung is going to come from somewhere, you want to be as close to your jungler as possible. So he's playing towards the top side of the map so that if he does get attacked, Svenskeren has a chance of answering.
Looks like Hauntzer again, still pressuring Zig here in this top side. Good hook from Bio. Especially going to hop back behind Arrow and take pretty minimal damage. But looks like the lane has stabilized despite Rocket Jump being taken level 1 there for DoubleLift. And I imagine this will just kind of turn into more of a farm fest as Sven looking for something top.
Yeah, Bjergsen actually was kind of roaming up there, but CZ's been warded out, just using that jungle plant. Nothing really happening topside though. I don't think that Svenskeren could actually get anything done there, so he knows that too. It's more just about actually protecting Hauntzer. Like I talked about how you have to play around topside for both of these junglers, because likewise, if Hauntzer is up near that turret and MikeYeung comes up, they can certainly set up that gank and be able to take him down.
And MikeYeung actually just taking some damage here from Sven, but did smite away the big raptor. Bjergsen, of course, with that blue, able to get very early priority and push up, but not there in time to pressure them off the camp. MikeYeung takes the bulk of it as Bjergsen's just going to return to lane. And whoever placed that pink ward just to the left of the lane for P1 is paying some pretty big dividends at this point, as Bjergsen will chunk Ryu down for a little bit, but Corki going to feel pretty safe as Xpecial, also taking heat in the bottom lane.
Yep, but everything going pretty well on both sides. Pretty stable game so far. TSM does have the farm advantage, and that is the gold lead that they are kind of edging out here. Both junglers, I think, are playing pretty intelligently, tracking each other, making sure that neither one can really make moves on the top side, on that top lane to swing it. So far, so good.
Certainly looking good there. MikeYeung going to just take these wolves away and again farm up. Sejuani obviously has a lot of power loaded into that ultimate, can do stuff early, but happy to farm it out as well.
Yeah, I actually think that Sejuani has a pretty heavy scaling advantage against the Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is much more of like an early game powerhouse, whereas on tanks, you're generally very happy to be trading farm. If you can just be farming it out against like a Rek'Sai or a Lee Sin or someone like that, you are going to have an advantage. Going later into the game. There's so much more teamfight utility, so much teamfight power on this guy, and as you get towards the Cinderhulk, it's just such a strong item now that it can be tough for someone like Rek'Sai to have the same level of relevance in the team.
Yeah, but on Cinderhulk, actually, Svenskeren also going to go that route on the Rek'Sai. I imagine with the Ruby Crystal there, MikeYeung, of course, will be doing the same, but I think it is still a debate for a lot of Rek'Sai players is do you want to go more aggressive with the Warrior or buy Cinderhulk since it's been so heavily buffed on this patch?
Yeah, and I mean, the option here for Sven, I think, perhaps partly because it has been such a passive early game, and they are going to go kind of more with this passive defensive route. I think it does make some sense, but in general, I feel like I have been seeing a lot more Warrior. That still seems to be the go-to. Certainly you see a lot of like Warrior Black Cleaver type stuff. TSM though trying to make moves on the top side of the jungle, looking to steal this away. We'll see who's going to win the Smite War, and both top laners are coming down.
Yep. Zig's here already, but Sven actually might be taking a little too much. Did get the buff and Smites away, but the damage is coming out. Ryu gets knocked up as he moves in, and that's first blood over to Jarvan. Now Hauntzer.
He's a red buff now, he can chase him down.
Just has to keep running. Boomerang's going to help cut it out as Bjergsen looking for another kill. Does have his flash, but just no angle to go over, and even Xpecial's roamed up as well. So great response there from P1.
Yeah, I mean, MikeYeung actually didn't even have his smite, so Sven easily takes the buff, but it felt like P1 much more aggressive, much more committed to actually going for the kill here. They move in from all sides, and Gnar, I believe, was actually timing out, so just expired there, and that means Hauntzer does not have a lot of teamfight presence here. They proc this Sejuani passive, Ryu diving in, and Zig able to clean it up with the ultimate, and TSM without that Mega Gnar, they really can't compete in that 3v3 fight. So really nice moves there from P1, and getting the red buff onto Jarvan is going to be very helpful.
And again, a lot of the things we kind of talked about at the start of the draft with P1, having so many good aggressive tools in a fight would start kind of presenting themselves there in that exchange. This does, of course, give DoubleLift a little bit of room, but Arrow definitely been impressed with, the fact that Xpecial's roams have been so consistent and, for the most part, very successful. But Arrow is now keeping up in farm, despite, his support often leaving the lane. I mean, Biofrost, I'm pretty sure, stayed there the whole time and still pretty even. There's a nice hook skin to land, but just a bit of damage back and forth. Box proc by Biofrost. He's going to go a little bit more all in. Dive coming from Sven, looking for Arrow.
He has the ult.
Does get marked, knocks him up there. Bjergsen going to move over the ultimate. That's maybe going to be a kill. Sven flashed over there. One onto Arrow, now Xpecial.
Oh, both TPs coming in.
All right, looks like that's a double kill. Rek'Sai able to pick up Xpecial, and that TP is going to be cancelled by Zig. No chance to save his teammates.
We'll see if TSM actually tries to stay around and get the first turret. For now, they're looking like they are at least going to make a move to get some damage down on it. Trying to leave the two-man squad here. They're actually going to send Hauntzer back up top to try to collect that wave that is actually being pushed in by Zig. So really nice moves here by TSM, and able to get something done with this Rek'Sai in the relatively early game. Very important. Plus the first turret gold going all over to DoubleLift is really going to kind of spring this Tristana ahead of the Kalista.
Yep, denies the last bit of fun that he can, and then clears away this wave and collects all of that gold. So now a actually decent farm lead being opened up as Arrow's going to move down and catch up on minions, but big buy incoming for DoubleLift, who picked up a ton of gold in that exchange.
Yeah, and I mean, it's much less about the farm than it is about the turret, because 650 gold for that first turret going right over to him. P1 trying to make a move back on the top side, get something back, but being down 2K, over 2K this early is certainly concerning for them. And MikeYeung clearing out the blast plant, that's just going to be something that you kind of always want to try to get done. If you can clear out those plants and keep...
Oh,
nice move!
What a god! Flash ult there from Zig, going to try and get him out of the way. But Biofrost with a sick play.
Yeah, that was a sick play. They're actually moving the bot lane up top. All right. Good sidestep.
Biofrost is like, what level are you thinking on right now? Turns out Zig keeps it all composed, but turret pressure is still here, so...
The turret's gone. I mean, DoubleLift is already up here now. This is actually really nice moves from TSM. As soon as they get that turret bot, rotating their bot lane up top, they'll be able to finish this off very easily with the wave coming in, and TSM making really nice map moves.
All right, well... We thought that with the first blood for P1, everything was starting to look good, but two quick macro plays from TSM, and this gold lead is ballooning out of control. Going to be about 2,000 when P1 are able to pick up the bottom outer turret, but thankfully for them, they're able to get some sort of trade, and Arrow might even have to wait an extra wave here, because that last little caster creep might not be enough. Backdoor armor kicks in, and Arrow's like, yep, gotta wait. That's just a little bit of extra time wasted.
Yeah, and I mean, since TSM's so ahead on the play, they have the tempo advantage, they can actually grab the Rift Herald here as well, and then they're gonna take the Rift Herald and their bot lane, go mid, and look to actually force down the last outer turret. This is just such good movement from TSM, and again, P1 are not really ready. They're just the one member here so far. I think they're gonna go for the play.
Oh, Ryu, yep, has to use the package. Defensively is Biofrost.
Rift Herald already being summoned.
Yeah, and this tower's probably dead at this point. DoubleLift just doing extra damage, and this charge will kill it. Everyone disengages. Svenskeren going to get out of the way. P1 trying to make a play as MikeYeung bursts the ulti in onto Sven. That'll be a kill for Ryu, but I think it's just one for P1. TSM might even fancy a bit more here as the Rift Herald does get the last hit on the turret. There's the Kalista ultimate to save Xpecial. Bjergsen still firing away, but P1, every cooldown burnt defensively, and they still lose the turret.
I mean, P1 at least are able to kind of get over there and try to contest it somewhat. It is a kill for the turret, so certainly the advantage going the way of TSM, and they've knocked down all the outers at this point. Very promising, but at least the kill going over to Ryu is going to kind of push him towards that Triforce a little bit faster, and we saw Ryu take over so many games at Rift Rivals on the Corki, so he certainly is a guy that you want to get going. And here's the play once again from TSM, simply rotating to the last outer turret on the map. Rift Herald comes down. P1 is looking to collapse. They're trying to stop this, but you can't focus both the fight and the Rift Herald at the same time. There's the Sejuani ultimate, lands right onto the Rek'Sai, followed up by that Braum passive. That's kind of the layering of CC that we were talking about a bit in Champ Select, and then not able to get any more kills, but at least it is a trade.
Yeah, and again, 3 outers now felt for TSM, still holding on to about 2,500 gold as their advantage. Drake's still not being taken, but still pretty early in this game. TSM might look for that as their next point of contention on the map. Otherwise, just happy right now to keep farming things out, go back to their regular lane assignments, and just get that vision deep in the jungle, start to take over this game. It just feels like TSM, there's a reason we always talk about this team is looking like the best team in North America again. They just get better and better, and this pace of play and the cleanliness of their map play, exactly why they looked so dormant last summer.
Double TP coming in from P1 though. They actually want to fight this dragon. We'll see if TSM is here in time.
P1 never wanted
near Mega.
Never want to shy away from it. Hauntzer, good bit of rage, gonna order the dragon for a little bit extra. P1 might get the Drake, but they might lose a lot for it. Drake is gonna be contested, being able to smite that one away. P1 gonna pull the trigger. They've got ultimates if they want to go, but TSM just walking away.
It's actually a very expensive commitment there from P1. Both your TPs blown, you don't take a fight, you lose the dragon. Like, that's actually a pretty high cost, and now TSM has the inner track on mid lane. They're going for the fight though.
Straight line flash there, but Hauntzer is just going to keep turning it around. Hook lands in. Actually, it's Sejuani. Biofrost straight into the middle, going to try box everybody. But a huge combo in the backline. Zing able to ulti onto the carriage. Biofrost does take down MikeYeung, but Arrow flashes over to try and take down DoubleLift. You bust the shots. Kalista out of the way. Bjerg awfully low as TSM. Every solo then running out of the way. Ryu gets popped back in. 2 dead already for P1. Biofrost, the only casualty, diving into the backline on Thresh.
Yeah, Biofrost was able to buy so much time for the team there, getting in the way of all the DPS, stopping those 2 marksmen from actually getting up there and finishing off all the low members in the backline, because Sejuani and Jarvan had really chunked a lot of TSM members low. And we're going to see this fight again. Mega Gnar expires. P1 makes the call to go for the play. A Zig over on the side. He's looking to actually set up for a bit of a flank, but you can see how much time is actually bought here then by Biofrost. He goes in, takes a lantern, drops the box, and he knows this is a one-way trip. It's simply about buying time. P1's backline cannot actually get in there to follow up on the Jarvan ultimate, but a fight again on the top side.
Once they're going to get stunned up, that Sedrum power able to give Arrow his first kill of the game.
Nice little pick there. Hauntzer staying around a little bit too long, trying to perhaps push that wave all the way into the turret. So P1 getting something back. They are fighting very evenly, but it's been more about the superior map movements from TSM, that have netted them a couple extra turrets and some farm advantages.
I think it's important to note that what you said about the P1 backline not having access to the squishy members of TSM, cost them so much, because Ryu did have a Trinity Force when that fight started. Now, as Sork shooter, he is getting stronger in this Corki. Will only scale better as the game goes on, but TSM just running P1 around, and you know that if push comes to shove and TSM have to just straight up beat you in a team fight, they're also capable of doing that.
They certainly are. It's definitely not a super one-sided team fight by any means. I think that there's advantages on either side. When you look at Kalista versus Tristana, you're saying, well, Tristana going to outscale there. The Corki, I think, is certainly going to put out more damage perhaps than the Taliyah, but Taliyah has a lot of utility and potential to actually burst someone down. Rek'Sai, I think, disadvantageous against the Sejuani, but there's kind of give and take on either side. And here it is, just simply trying to push the wave all the way in. MikeYeung comes up, and Sven realizes this is not going to be a fight they can win, just going to bail out. He's going to be able to give that kill over to Arrow.
You can see again all this synergy and CC built into P1's comp. Picks look pretty easy when it's set up like that. Once kind of caught out of position one more time, but only his first death of the game, so he'll be okay as TSM going to move towards back around this left side of the map, and looks like they're going to transfer DoubleLift up here for now.
Where these teams take the fights is also going to be so important, like the geography of the map, because when P1 was trying to take that fight through a small corridor, Thresh can clog that up with box and play so easily. And really kind of shut down a lot of the backline members who are trying to get through there. And it's very tough also to engage through these small corridors into something like the Taliyah. So they have to be really cognizant of where they're coming from. As P1, I feel like you want to fight much more in the open. You want to be having, your J4 flanking, your Sejuani engaging, and all your marksmen able to kind of come in and follow up at the same time.
Here comes the squad though. Ryu packages up towards DoubleLift, who's got everyone else just behind him. Lantern out though. He's going to keep him safe. DoubleLift with a great escape. P1 committed everyone to try and get that pick.
Yeah, they were looking for the pick, but since the minion wave was not pushed prior, there's no follow-up on the play, right? This is one of those things where had they actually shoved out the top wave first, then you say, hey, well, they chunked out DoubleLift, maybe they can actually pressure a turret, but they have not done their due diligence. So they just look for the pick. That fails. Now they're on the back foot because bot lane is pushing. Top lane still had to be pushed out. And TSM is actually the one to make the move towards mid lane to get the push there. So these are the things that actually make the differences between these top teams.
Pressure mid and now rotating down bot. There should be a tier 2. Ryu does not have his TP and a great wall from Bjergsen. Xpecial just seems so sad.
PastryTime is clapping over here. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use that one, Mike.
I love me a good Taliyah wall. So, I mean, Bjergsen, I think that is something that separates him as a player. We've seen it on his rise, and I think now Taliyah is giving him that same sense of map power, which is very rare in a champion. But Ryu might get it back in the top side, so P1 looking okay.
I mean, the creativity with the Weaver's Wall, like how well can you use this? It's not a combat ultimate, but you know, thinking ahead, utilizing your positioning, zoning people out, cutting fights in half. This gives it power in a fight, even though it is not actually dealing damage. It is not actually doing that. So you have to be much more cerebral, I think, when using the ultimate. Bjergsen is certainly one of the best at actually, you know, being successful with these Weaver walls. And, you know, especially later stages of the game, like we've seen so many times when they are looking to siege inhibitor turrets, walling off the team from that inhibitor turret, and in combination with a Tristana who can shred the turrets very, very fast, that's even more powerful.
Well, TSM still riding high on their gold lead, 3,000 gold up. As looks like objective number 2 is going to spawn. Cloudbreak the second is due in just about 25. TSM already again setting up. Pressure down the bottom side, took that tier 2 turret, thanks to that nice siege combination, and maybe looking for a fight. Hook onto Xpecial, going to land in. So Xpecial taking a lot of damage as Hauntzer trying to build up Ragey Lanterns. That's a regroup and join those battle lines again, but Xpecial forced to flash out after the Fate's Gold tosses him in. Looks like Hauntzer with too much threat as he does pop into Mega Form.
Yeah, Xpecial hoping they could look for a fight there. I mean, taking the Fate's Call in to actually throw down your ultimate and then just have to flash out, no one was looking to follow up. So on a different page than the rest of his team there, you know, TSM is kind of having the positional advantages. And Hauntzer looking to fight up with Zig, but just going to push him back, and TSM should claim the Dragon. P1 are trying to trade that for some vision around the top side, you know, laying down some wards around the Baron. That is going to be coming up soon, and could be a point of contention in a couple minutes.
Right, wants the pressure to continue, but Zig able to get away. No frozen mallet just yet. So Zig able to take those 1v1s a little easier. As blue buff steal. Gonna go over to Bjergsen. Svenskeren just says, no, I don't want the land. I'll just recall here in this brush. P1 though did get vision around the Baron side of the map. That was kind of the trade that TSM made when taking that Drake. And now we're going to start it.
20 minutes. This is kind of crazy, but with the Kalista it can work if you get that time. But it has been spotted out. TSM onto their tricks. They're actually not pulling off this. This is kind of insane.
DoubleLift.
Weaver's wall is already here.
Yeah, there's the wall in. Bjergsen actually just makes his way up. P1 going to TP in, but they have to go for a P1. Might have an up, but can they lose everything? Kalista does to kill the back for P1, but everyone needs to book it. Zig have to go over the wall. 5-man blast plan, and P1 steal it away.
Beautiful from P1. That took balls. They actually get spotted very early, but they say, we know the timings of when TSM can get back out on the map. They had based too many members at once, and TSM unable to actually get there and stop it. And with Arrow having the Ren, they had so much confidence that they could actually finish this off and had flashes available to get out. So really, really impressive stuff from P1, and that puts you back to almost an even state because they're going to have pressure on the map now. TSM cannot actually utilize that Baron to try to push in and crack one of these inhibitor turrets. So this has bought P1 a lot of time.
That is either a incredible on-the-fly calculation or some serious guts from P1. No carry has more than 2 items. They don't have any Drakes, including the mountain that you might expect, and just barely find a timing window to take the Baron and now take this turret. And all of a sudden, that game is now 1,000 gold between the two.
I mean, we saw an early Baron sneak yesterday as well, utilizing that Kalista around 20 minutes. People utilizing the Blast Cone, hopping in, trying to pull off these sneaky plays. And, you know, we talked about the trade of vision for the Dragon earlier from TSM. That may have sounded very, very small. It's like, oh, well, who cares? They got a couple wards by Baron. Why does that matter? Well, guess what? It actually got them the Baron, right? Like, so this is how valuable it actually can be. And in the long run, this trade has come out so big for P1.
All right, well, they take the mid turret. Now, even in outer turrets, at least only one behind TSM. And again, about 1,000 gold between the two as Ryu, freshly bought with a rapid fire cannon now completed, has the package ready as P1 looks to stay proactive with a minute 50 left on their Baron buff. 2 items also for Arrow, so that Hurricane's going to give him even more teamfight pressure. And I mean, the Frozen Mallet is now done for Hauntzer, but not going to be particularly good in a team fight if things get scrappy, not until he has maybe Stoneplate as his 3rd item.
Yeah, I could be looking towards that. Certainly, this is the kind of dream 2 items for the 1v1. In a lane, you can chase people down, you can kite them out. It's very powerful. And it still can be very strong in a team fight. You have a lot of health, but you don't have a lot of resistances, right? He's sitting on the ninja tabbies, but you certainly can get shredded by these double marksmen. You're looking more to survive through the applied pressure. You jump in, you're CCing them up. They have to run away from you. They can't just sit and shoot into you.
Yeah, TSM going to have to play defense for a little while as P1 still sieging up these turrets. A minute left on the Baron here and 4 already. Ryu's going to move over as well, finds Bjergsen, starts chunking him out. Corki already getting to his big points of power. Every single item just makes him better.
Yeah, and that chunk is actually really big because it sends Bjergsen back to base, so may allow them to get a little bit of pressure down on these turrets with the kind of ending moments of their Baron buff. We'll see if they're willing to go for that or if they're just going to kind of back off here.
So they're just trying to get mid-tier 2 through. The commitment is bottom lane wave, not in a position for them, and even now might actually have to back away. TSM seems like they've successfully weathered that Baron storm, but P1, that gutsy Baron play did pretty much even the game right back up, so we'll have to see what happens next around maybe that Mountain Drake that's spawning in the next few minutes. Or, of course, the next Baron, because there'll definitely be more than one in this game.
Yeah, I definitely don't think this is going to be one that's ending anytime soon. Tristana is scaling very well. DoubleLift has been farming well. He has not died yet, so he's going to be getting pretty strong here and actually does have a fair bit of gold on his character right now. He could buy up his deal if he wants, so going to be working probably pretty quickly towards another Zeal item, towards that rapid fire cannon I would expect, unless he feels like he needs to start building armor penetration or something. And he actually is grabbing the Last Whisper in the anticipation of armor being built up, but I still disagree with this build simply because look at the actual items on the character. So MikeYeung looking like he's building towards the Warmogs, which he actually now completes. Top lane is building towards like a Spirit Visage, a Titanic Hydra. So you just built a Last Whisper for what? 2 pairs of Minotabbies? Like that's the only armor in the game, and yes, you do kind of want to be a bit ahead of the curve, but it only works on bonus armor. It does not flat armor penetration. So Last Whisper, pretty low value here. Would have definitely preferred to see that be a rapid fire cannon. Yeah,
I think maybe signals that TSM are looking to actually farm things out for a little while longer. We'll have to see though, because if the fight starts that DoubleLift could have done even more damage, and we maybe can't call that build more into question. In fact, TSM are positioned to fight right now, so apparently they feel like things are looking good, but no hook landing there for Biofrost. Looks like this Mountain Dragon's the reason they're trying to get so frisky in the river.
Yeah, the Dragon going to be pretty big. I mean, TSM has controlled all the dragons so far, and if you're looking at a game that's probably going late, you start to think about the Elder Dragon, you start to think about the implications there of that true damage buff that you actually get for every dragon that you have killed off. So they want to continue to control those dragons, and also, you know, the mountain gives them more access to barons, to turrets, and is very, very powerful. But TSM have established vision control pretty heavily around here, so it would be tough for P1 to actually move in unless they're willing to commit to a full-on fight.
Well, TSM going to peel away now and start to get damage onto the Drake just as it spawns.
Yeah, I think it's probably just going to be TSM's Dragon. Nice Weaver's wall there from Bjergsen, so they're just actually going to try to finish this off. P1 should just push mid. Like, there's nothing that you can actually do here now. They need to be shoving up mid, what they're finally going to do, and they're going to try to have this 4-man squad zone the rest of TSM away from that turret and get pressure on the tier 2.
Hauntzer is mega right now, so P1 have to be careful not to get flanked by a big Gnar. Bjergsen actually can't cut them off with the wall, but they might just go for it anyway. Xpecial could be first quarter as Hauntzer making his way around. There's the pullback from MikeYeung. Play back his good, but Hauntzer leads into the fight. There's the knock-up for the Glacial Finder as P1 having to turn it around. Ryu gonna get that first kill as MikeYeung barely getting out of the way. Arrow diving under the turret as he jumps around back towards his team. TSM looking for a pick, but P1 are not giving it.
Oh, the hook on Ryu!
Oh, that's bad news. Ryu gonna get knocked around. DoubleLift doing so much damage, almost takes him down. Needs a little bit more spent, able to fall, but DoubleLift gets the first kill. Maybe now looking for the reset as Bjergsen flunking around, trying to clean this up. MikeYeung onto Thresh, gonna give DoubleLift the next kill. Double flashes out of the knockup and jumps back in towards Zig to take him down. There's the triple kill. TSM clean up the team fight.
Biofrost with the crazy initiation over the wall, catching out Ryu. P1 were looking like they were out scot-free, but they have to commit, trying to save their mid laner there, and they lose so much.
And now that one Mountain Drake that TSM got could convert into a lot. This tier 2 turret in mid lane is gone.
They can actually keep going for the inhibitor turret if they want. We'll see if TSM makes that choice because Baron is spawning soon, so I think they prioritize getting back to base, getting vision, and actually resetting on the map. This is kind of the safer of the options because if you stay around for the inhibitor turret, you could get punished later. Here is the fight again. Hauntzer in Mega. TSM wants to go in, but it's tough to fight through this corridor. Sejuani in the middle, kind of choking things up, and Ryu and Arrow able to back off and actually get a lot of damage down on Hauntzer. They pick him up, but this turret is actually not killed off, and Arrow taking so much damage here means that P1 have to back out. It looks like they are okay though, as TSM kind of forced to back up, but Ryu sitting on a ward, walks forward, Biofrost catches him. very, very nice hook, and that forced them back into the fight where DoubleLift is really able to kind of clean up. And he played this so well. A lot of patience, both with the flash and with actually using his rocket jump. So flashing to the side, then utilizing the rocket jump to chase down Zig for yet another kill.
Well, TSM certainly doing well to clean up the backhand here, but Baron is now back. As you can see just how much total damage was done in that fight. The numbers themselves look good, obviously TSM winning the fight, but that fight was very long.
Yeah.
So just how much happened there in that exchange was pretty insane. As Hauntzer back down to the bot side with teleport, ready to TP in at a moment's notice for this Baron, because that is the next play. P1 already shown the steal to try and rush one, but TSM with their Mountain Drake, if they get time, it will burn down very swiftly. Sven may be caught here though.
The fight.
It's caught, Xpecial in, but good buffer there by DoubleLift, gets him out. Now the hook landing back in onto Zig. Hauntzer gonna dive into the team. No!
Oh my god!
Oh, and now Bjergsen takes down Zig. TSM gonna wipe the floor of the rip with P1 here in this team fight. The Weaver's Walk gonna secure the final one as MikeYeung gonna get cut up by Bjergsen. And TSM might not even need Baron after this. MikeYeung gonna try and buy a little bit of time, but there's the ace for TSM.
Yeah, they're just going mid. They're gonna end the game right here, I think. We'll see if they can actually do it. Those res timers are quite long, and TSM with an incredible team by kiting back, and Hauntzer cleaning up with a massive Gnar ultimate.
Certainly gonna try, looks like they are gonna go for it.
I think.
They got a weak turret in the bottom side, but they're gonna go for the Nexus. Minions there, finally playing catch up as TSM is looking to take it down. Nexus turret number 1, S4 and Xpecial almost up in 2 seconds. Zig gonna shortly join him, but TSM, they know their limits. They're gonna take down this Nexus in one fell swoop.
What a decisive game from TSM. I think playing it out so well. Really from start to finish, they were in control. P1's big moment was that early Baron that kind of put them back into the game, but TSM team fought better. They played the map better, had turret advantage, had farm advantage, and you really saw why this team has been looking so good.
I mean, again, adapting to so many different picks. I mean, Hauntzer, I think, has eaten a lot of criticism in the last split or so, I think, having so many high highs, but I think equally low lows. Now as the champion that all the top laners are now playing, but having a very strong performance there. TSM, I think, demonstrating total understanding of timing there. It is very difficult to play around a nut if you are not used to timing that mega, but every single team fight, it was not a coincidence that when Hauntzer jumped in, he was already ready to team fight in the mega form.
Yeah, and I think another really big part is how well they played around the positioning of the map, right? Like, every team fight, it felt like that TSM was taking was in these corridors where Taliyah can be extremely successful. They see that P1's looking to engage. They kite back into this small choke. That is not a coincidence. They are always moving into these tight areas where it's so difficult for P1's marksman to actually get involved in the fight. And when they run forward, it opens them up to the Mega Gnar engage. And that's a big reason that Bjergsen actually did almost double everyone's damage in the game, because he's utilizing the areas in this map so well and forcing them into chokes.
Yeah, just incredible game there for TSM. But for more on that victory, let's send it down to Dash and our analysts.
Thank you very much, PastryTime. TSM grabbed game 1 in the series, and they do it in pretty stellar fashion here with a couple big team fights won near the end of the game in succession. Before we get to the gameplay itself, though, let's talk about Champions League just briefly, because MikeYeung, spotlight on him. Here we have Nidalee and Elise taken away in that first phase, and we see the Sejuani brought out.
This is kind of what we were talking about at the top of the broadcast, was we wanted to see them perform maybe a little bit more on some other picks that he can't just play super aggro on, because people are going to start keying onto that and take him off them. So Nidalee, Elise taken off. If you want to play the Lee Sin, it's a bad matchup in the Rek'Sai. Maybe you play the Rek'Sai, but they instead go for a tankier frontline, which I appreciate the comp that P1 built, because I think it is really good, but they weren't able to keep up with TSM.
Yeah, and the thing that kind of stands out to me is the fact that, you know, they kind of delayed their jungle pick for so long, took the Corki in the mid lane, banned out the LeBlanc to make sure they, you know, they don't play it into it. They could have had LeBlanc themselves. They could have gone for something like that. So I feel like the Corki was something they kind of tunneled on, because, you know, it's such a good champion for Ryu as well. But when you're playing red side and you're up against Bjergsen, I feel like not waiting to see what Bjergsen's playing is kind of an oversight.
Oh, and Mark, you talk about, you know, Phoenix1 here in this game struggling to keep up with TSM. That's what I really want to identify, because we saw the failed invade by TSM, you know, around that 8-minute mark, but they immediately followed that with a succession of moves to take 3 turrets across the map.
And this is what you kind of heard the European teams talking about during Rift Rivals, that TSM just plays so fast. And it's not like a scrappy fast pace, it's fast team play. So you see instantly after that failed invade involving Bjergsen and Svenskeren, instantly they're down in your bot lane, forcing a dive, teleporting in, they get the double kill, they take this first turret, and then after that, it's just a succession of objectives where they go top, Rift Herald mid.
Yep, and they just get every outer turret, they open up the map, and then they have pretty much free reign of those areas. And then kind of the big mistake that TSM made later on was the Baron and resetting the map. That was kind of the big thing for me that stood out.
Right, exactly. I mean, Phoenix1 had a really aggressive call to get that initial Baron around the 20-minute marker where it spawned, and that, in all honesty, is the only reason why the team, or rather the game, went as long as it did, because at 26 minutes, as soon as that Baron buff expires, TSM finds the fight they want off of some over-aggression from Phoenix1, and with great positioning and team fighting out of DoubleLift, they start to build those advantages and gain that momentum again.
Phoenix1 has been kind of losing objectives all over the game. They just lost to Dragon, they have the mid push up, and they want to force TSM to walk through this choke point, and it goes well initially where they're able to kind of stun up the back line of TSM, force them to not be able to get into this front line, but then Arrow just goes way too aggressive.
Yeah, Hauntzer also had a really good Gnar ultimate, shoving people across the Talias and Raveled Earth, but Arrow went too aggressive, and I feel like if he was just with the team on the back side of the turret, his side of the turret, and not there, then that's the first mistake that they make. The second mistake is Ryu walking up to try and poke when his team is actually probably fine in that position.
Yeah, so therefore gets hit by the hook. This baits the rest of the team in. All of a sudden, we've got triple kill going over to DoubleLift, and he's off to the races.
And we talk about mistakes from Arrow and Ryu to set up the situation, but it's DoubleLift who also just saw it and punished it, because that took a very aggressive Tristana player to jump forward over the wall. He still had flash and was willing to outplay, but like I've talked to DoubleLift a few times, and he's always like, hey man, if you have Summoner Spell Flash, and you want to use it in this fight, and it's like the tail end, go ahead and do it, but bait as many things as you can. Bait the Jarvan EQ, play on reaction at that point, and he only has to look out for a few things, and he was totally playing on that knife's edge that I've kind of discussed with him back and forth.
And then benefiting from Tristana, being able to get those jump resets to stay in the fight even while using the flash defense.
There's a lot of hesitation, too, from Phoenix1. DoubleLift was right there, and they'd have 3 people around him. It's like, do we go? Do we not? And then it's too late by that point.
Yeah, it's difficult because you have to communicate that. Everyone's probably in full retreat mode after Arrow runs through that turret. Let's get out of here. And then all of a sudden, your Corki's hooked, and the call isn't instantly everyone turn. You get that small miscommunication.
Final big fight comes 28-30 into the game. Ace for TSM here. We're going to take another look at this one.
It's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds later, and this was a gigantic Gnar ultimate from Hauntzer that stuns up multiple people and just completely obliterates the team fight. It looks like it's over as it starts.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones where as your Tristana, you're just so happy to see that. Your front line delivers all these low health targets to you, and you're like, I'm going to go off this fight. This is going to look great for me in the stats, even though Hauntzer was kind of the one who won us that.
All right, cool. So before this game, Mark, I asked you what you would want to see out of Phoenix1, even in a loss, to kind of be convinced that, hey, this team is improving and they could make a case for being in the top 5 of the North American LCS. They're handed a loss here in Game 1 against TSM. What could they have done differently here to match that that pressure and aggression that you talked about? Because they don't have a Talia wall, you know, to necessarily rotate as quickly as, say, the Talia could.
I mean, it's really difficult because MikeYeung, all that we've seen out of him so far is aggression, aggression, aggression here on a tank, and it does not look that good. I think we saw one game on a Zac as well, maybe, but he doesn't seem to perform on the tanks when he can go for those invades. The pick of the Corki works really well for that when they're being aggressive, because Corki can just get in your face and poke you down. And this time around, without that, they seem to be really lost. The bot lane got blown open. This was what you were saying you're concerned about if you want to see them match up. But as soon as there's a bit of aggression around the top side, TSM goes bottom.
Yeah, that bottom lane was very questionable. Warlords on Kalista instead of Fervor to start, and then also they got the potion out of DoubleLift level 1 or 2,
right?
And they still had a potion
back.
advantage, and they didn't do anything with it. They were even in CS, and I was expecting more trading to come out from Arrow at that point, because at that point, you can pretty much play like a Masters, low Masters player or Diamond 1 player and win that lane, because you have a large HP advantage.
Right, well, we expect more out of the Phoenix1 bot lane here moving into Game 2, though. I want to take a look at the mid lane for just a second as Bjergsen picks up player of the game here for that objective control, for being able to affect the side lanes. While we talk about Bjergsen getting player of the game, I want to know, again, from Ryu's perspective, you already hit some champions-like points where you maybe would have liked to have seen priority on something other than the Corki. Is it a simple matchup kind of situation where Ryu needs to find the right champion matchup, or is there, again, a play style change that he needs to initiate here to be more successful?
I'm unsure her as well because there was a Rek'Sai that handed blue buff off to the Taliyah as soon as she was out of mana very early in the game, so that she had a way to match the teleport as well, so she didn't have to leave lane. So he was handed resources, so stylistically you'd want them to play around mid lane a little bit more, but Sejuani against Taliyah is actually pretty tricky because you can always buffer the W, and when Taliyah throws down the E, Sejuani will take so much damage entering with a Q. So it's kind of that counter matchup in the jungle that you're worried about.
Interesting.
Right, that's exactly what I was going to say, is I think you can limit Bjergsen through forcing these aggressive 2v2, so he can't run around the map and make team plays that's going to get him a player of the game.
But then you got to succeed in the 2v2.
Right, and that comes down to the jungle matchup, like Zyron was just saying.
All right, so maybe some champion-select adjustments out of Phoenix1 can net them a victory here in Game 2. We'll see if it happens, if they can bounce back against TSM right after the break. We'll see you in just a bit.